We'll start recording. So, welcome again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending from which part of the world are you joining us today. It is such pleasure to see you all here on the screen, coming from literally all over the globe, because we have some sun rising in Pacific time zone and sun already way set down in my time zone in Turkey. It's already over the 7 p.m. So we are living in an incredible world, and we are so grateful to be able to connect with each other on the Zoom. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all again on behalf of Fiera Europe. I'm Leila. I'm part of Fiera Europe, and I'm also serving as a membership growth coordinator and partnerships lead at URI. And I will today play technical slash host role on the call. So if you have any technical problems or need any help or would like to learn something more about URI, feel free to use chat option to introduce yourself, to meet each other. We will be enjoying today's call. Today's host will be our dear Deepak, who is the leader of the Earth Healing Group when it comes to the Europe. And we had a huge pleasure to have Dimitar with us, who will be leading today's workshop. So without further ado, I would like to give floor to the Deepak so that we can start the call. So Deepak, floor is yours.
Just a few minutes later, thank you. Thank you for your time, everybody. Um, just to really begin by saying that time is precious, and the climate environment uh, issues are critical for us all to be acting. And the more that we act together, the bigger the impact could, should, and could be. Um, and so that's the purpose of these monthly get-togethers. We will have a wide range of speakers who can excite us with knowledge. Um, the critical question at the end of the 1 hour is, what are we going to do? What is my action? What can I change? So while we're listening and going through this and engaging one another, the critical question, my friends, is let's act individually, but also together. So with that, I'll give it back to Laura, Layla, and then she'll take it forward. Is that okay with you? I will have my camera off, unfortunately, because I got a little bit of pain in my leg. All right.
Yeah, so sorry that you were facing the pain. So yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Deepak, for this nice introduction. And this is open invitation for all of you who are interested to join the group, also to offer the topics that maybe you are passionate about. There are still some open time slots for the rest of the year, so feel free to suggest topic and to be one of the facilitators of this call. And today we are having honor and we are blessed that Dimitar accepted invitation that to propose his topic that he will be delivering today, and it is topic on ecology and economy, uncovering the hidden. And I'm sure that we are all very much excited to learn about what Dimitar has to say to us. He's already quite well-known face in URI, and he participated in a gathering for Earth. He's our amazing youth facilitators on the youth camp that was happening online and both offline. So we are so happy that he is today with us. He's amazing young person with so many skills, but I would give floor to him to introduce himself and to introduce the topic.
Well, thank you, Leila. Thank you very much. And while I'm trying to share my screen to start off with our webinar today, I've just requested yeah, thank you so much. I will indeed introduce myself and say just a couple of words for me because I'm really, really happy to see so many familiar faces right now here today, but still, there might be, or for sure, there are people who don't know who I am actually. Um, by training, I am a political economist. By profession, I am an author, teacher, educator, and whatnot. But firstly and foremost, I am just a human who lives on Earth, as are all of us. And that's why when Layla and the team, Karima, who's unfortunately not here today, Deepak, and the whole team of Healing the Earth suggested that we start off with a seminar that I would deliver, I was very, very happy to see and hear and offer my part here. So thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. I believe that what I'm going to present to you today is very important when it comes to understanding issues we are seeking solutions for. And to draw very briefly on what Leila and Deepak said, we are talking about knowledge here. And to quote Deepak, the critical question is, what do we do from now on? What I want to present to you today is an approach that people rarely take, an approach that steps back and tries to understand the root causes of an issue that we are facing every day, namely the ecological crisis, or as I call it, ecological multi-crisis. And why ecology and economy? Well, first of all, I'm biased. I'm a political economist, so I love talking about the economy. And I do have a very academic approach every now and then, so bear with me and please be feel free to engage in the chat while I'm speaking in case there are some questions which we will cover later. I believe that there will be some time for a conversation as well. Okay, we will unveil everything that I have to say now, but first I want to draw your attention to what I want to talk about in general, namely ecology and economy. And to start off with the question, what is ecology? I'm pretty sure that every one of us, every person in this call and in our communities does have a general idea of what ecology is, but I do want to offer you my understanding of what I take to be ecology. And it draws from the Greek word, which two Greek words actually, oikos and logos, which are a study of the house, namely this house being the earth we live on. This is a very good fundamental thing that I would like all of us to have in mind, a study of the house or the household, this house being the earth, and therefore the relationship between the organisms on it or in it, in the house on the earth. What is then economy? And I'm sure that many, many definitions exist out there, and we can have many different approaches to understanding what economy is. But briefly, and also drawing back from the Greek translation, economy is then the management of this same house that we spoke about when we talked about ecology. So we have this house and we have the study of it, we have the earth and we study the earth and the relationship between the organisms in it, and we have this management of all the processes that happen within the house and within the household. Right. And of course, these modern processes have changed throughout the years. And we, of course, cannot talk about similarities or differences from back in thousands of years. But I would like to invite you to come on a long journey with me, mentally long, of course. It's going to only take 15 minutes. And walk with me in what I want to tell you about why I want to talk about ecology and economy together. Well, to begin with, we are part of this house. And by we, I mean we people, we humans. We live on this house, we live on this home, we live on this earth. We are part of the natural environment. And yet we need it as well. And ever since the beginning of the history of Homo sapiens sapiens, people, that's a very modern human, people have been in a very peaceful, at least in the beginning, relationship with the environment as we know it today or back in the day. We have trusted the natural environment which we have been part of to give us resources, and we have exploited it. We have taken resources from it in order to sustain ourselves, in order to sustain humanity, in order for us humans to survive. while at the same time being part of it. And here we see a specific two-sided relationship. While we are part of the environment that we have always been part of, we also trust it. We also depend on it in a way that we extract and use resources from it. And this relationship between humans and the environment has developed in a specific way throughout history. And this specific way in which it has developed is actually of great importance here. Slowly throughout history, or at least that's how I make of it, we have an amazing fancy word that I really love using. We have disembedded ourselves from the environment. It doesn't have to be that fancy. Well, what has happened throughout the years with the increased economic activity in terms of exploitation, use, and extraction of the natural environment, we have started to view the natural environment as something out there, something as opposed to before, when we have been part of it, as something that stays out there and we can make use of it the way we want to. So we've taken it for granted. We've started using, abusing, exploiting, extracting from it, and so on and so forth. And this happened throughout the years with the development of this human activity on and with the environment. Now, the key to the biggest change that I want to offer here, the key to what I want us to understand today is
How are
that
you, my friend? You okay?
I hope everything is okay in the chat and with everybody. I will just continue in case that's nothing's okay. We can stop. Well, we are talking about such type of human activity that at some point stopped putting in the center sustainment of humans and became violent and harmful for the environment because positioned in the center something else. By doing this, and I will get into what I want to say in just a second, by by doing this, by extracting more than we need, by taking more than what we have to take to sustain ourselves, we have disrupted what is called the natural metabolism. Here, the natural metabolism being we as people, as humanity, have taken as much as we need, and throughout time, the natural environment has been able to kind of get back to the form that it was before we took from it. But extraction from one place and disposal in another has created a shift in what I call the natural metabolism, which therefore made nature even more subjugated to people and to the economy. Now, what I wanted to say with all these things is that our relationship, we as humans, and our relationship with the environment, the natural environment we depend on, has fundamentally changed, and so has its purpose. In the very beginning, we have talked about exploitation, or rather, there has been seen exploitation of humans, of the environment, for human sustainment. So we've taken only as much as we need. We haven't done much damage, and the natural environment, the home, the earth, the echo, has had enough time to regenerate. Later on, with the advent of European colonialism, with more and more travel and more exploration and exploitation, of course, and extraction of natural resources, not for the human sustainment, but for the sustainment of a newly emerging system, this relationship started to change. And now, even more than ever, we see a subjugation of the natural environment to the economy. We have positioned what we started calling human activity and later turned into economic activity, what started as activity of exploitation for the sole purpose of sustainment of humanity, later turned into exploitation for the sustainment of, say, colonialism, and now turned into exploitation for the sustainment of an ever-growing system, economic one, not societal, purely economic. Now, we reach a paradox from what I have just said and what I've been thinking about. Isn't this paradoxical? Isn't this relationship that we are talking about just a tiny bit paradoxical? Has the natural environment, has the oikos, has the home turned from home to a dumpster? If in the beginning we used it only to sustain ourselves, and now we use it to extract, exploit, but also dump waste in it as something existing out there, and yet it exists as a home as well. Now, this brings us to the question, what is going on? How come have we managed to turn a system, an environment that we are part of, from a home which we have depended on and still depend on, to a dumpster which we throw our litter in? This is paradoxical. And yet, what we currently see today, what people around us, what people everywhere have acknowledged is, okay, well, there is an issue. There is an economic system. There is an human activity that has slowly throughout the years changed its purpose from sustainment of humans to sustainment of colonialism, to sustainment of industrial revolution, to sustainment of a system that brings prosperity to all, of course, in some places of the world at least. But these issues have been acknowledged. What do we do? What do we see now as narratives that offer us solutions to issues that lie at the core of our existence, social and economic and humane? Well, there is one simple answer, and it's called sustainability. This is, I have to tell you, I hate this word sustainability in a very playful way, of course, and I'll explain why. The solution is make the way we exploit sustainable, because our relationship with the environment has always been based on exploitation. And this is a big statement, this is a mouthful, but our relationship with the environment, be it thousands of years ago, be it last year, be it next year, maybe not, who knows, has always been based on exploitation. The reasoning behind this exploitation, though, has differed throughout the years. But what is sustainability? What is sustainable? Yeah, we're talking about making things sustainable as part of the solution of the system that exploits. And sustainable is nothing more than something that is able to sustain. It's very logical, but here the question is, the critical question is, what do we sustain? What do we need to sustain? And simply, as we've just spoken, in the beginning, the sustainment was human sustainment. Now we sustain the economy, which brings benefits to all. And I put that in inverted commas, in quotation marks, and everything. And this is a whole question for another webinar and topic, and even series of lectures. But now that we believe, or at least some people, on a certain spectrum, far right spectrum of what's called neoclassical thought, believe that the economy, which brings benefits to all, will also bring benefits to the environment, which it exploits and it depends on. And paradoxically, it's turned into a dumpster. Well, what if we change the focus? What if we position the environment in focus and not the economic system that exploits it? Yes, now the focus is on the economy. And what I want to say, of course, take it with a pinch of salt. Uh, if the focus is on the economy, And we say that we need to make the economy more sustainable in a way that it does as little damage to the environment as possible. We still remain within this view that this exploitative system, and I mean exploitation in the very pure sense of the word, exploitation as in extraction, exploitation as in using. If we still try to make this economy as sustainable as we could, if one would believe that it's possible to make it sustainable, it would still be very difficult, at least according to me, that a change, a meaningful change that positions our home, the oikos, the planet, the earth, in the center. Then what? Well, I am drawn to quote Mahatma Gandhi here, who said, there is enough on earth for everybody's need, but there is not enough for everybody's greed. Well, this then follows the greater narrative that I've been trying to offer you now today, the historical development in which humanity has started to exploit, in the purest sense of the word, the natural environment for its own need. And if we trust Gandhi here, there is enough for everybody if it comes to needs. But now, when we're speaking about greed, when we've positioned in the center an economic system and not the development of humanity, when we believe that this economic system will bring prosperity to all, even for the environment, we have only falsely went into the second part of Gandhi's quote. And unfortunately, the earth is finite. The resources that we have on earth, they're finite. Infinite exploitation, and I'm saying infinite exploitation because the logic behind the economic system we live in is the one of constant growth. The economy needs to grow in order for it to sustain itself, in order for it to bring prosperity for all, those all being people, mainly rich, mainly living in the global north, but that's a topic for another discussion. Not, there is not enough for everybody's greed. Okay, but what you are being so critical? I've been criticized by many people who say, yes, but you offer this theoretical view, you offer changes of mindset, you offer nothing but pure theory. And I say, well, that's first of all not true. Yes, we do need to change the focus. We need to position the environment. We need to position the home in the center of importance, not the control over the home. And how can we do that? Well, practically speaking, since I began speaking about a multi-crisis, not to sound like a doomsday prophet or something like that, since we began speaking like I began speaking about a multi-crisis, we need a multi-sided approach. What we know as sustainability of the economy that I've currently questioned and challenged and everything. For example, paper straws, reusable cups, own bottles for water at work, and so on and so forth. These are not bad steps that we can do. Not at all. There is a reason why they have been established as steps towards achieving a sustainable economy. The problem is, at least what I believe in, we don't need a sustainable economy. We need a sustainable humanity and we need sustainable development of the environment. Now, if we focus on the damaged, henceforth the home, the earth, the environment, and not on the one doing the damage, we can achieve so much more. We can achieve so much more than just preserving the system for only a couple of years, only hoping for it to develop enough technology so that this technology could lead to certain developments. But in the future, what else? Well, apart from these nice ideas about sustainability, yes, no plastic cups because plastic is bad for the turtles in the ocean and surface level uh, sustainable solutions. I call them surface level not because they're not important. On the opposite, they're amazing, but they're simply not enough. We can try to position the focus on humanity and the environment itself. And one practical solution which emerged as a theory is the idea of the donut economy. The donut economy that the British economist Kate Raworth here, I do have the book behind me, that's an amazing book. The British economist Kate Raworth built up back in the day, now I can't remember the year, says to us simply, imagine the world and the relationship in between the people in the world as a donut. And the necessary things that we need are within the donut itself. What is beyond, what's outside of it, this is too much. We don't need it. We're harming the environment. What is below it is too little. We're harming humanity. This is an idea that's a theoretical approach and offers practical solutions. And a practical example of that, and this is the last thing that I want to say, is Amsterdam, a city very close by to where I live. I don't know if I mentioned to you in the beginning, I'm based in The Hague. Amsterdam in 2020, in the midst of the COVID crisis, decided that, well, the economy doesn't need to be in the center. The growth of the economy doesn't need to be in the center because the same growth causes way more damage than the growth of, say, human development, but not measured by GDP, gross domestic product, or welfare of the state. No, we need a combined approach that offers changed beliefs and behaviors, that offers inclusivity for everybody, and a change of doing. If we position ourselves and the environment in the center of our actions towards saving and healing the earth, we will achieve way more than if we position an economic system. Yet, as we say, and I have to quote Lao Tzu here, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Do bring your own bottle when you go to work. Don't forget sustainability narratives. Don't forget what we currently have as solutions to the crisis. Be the change you want to see and act locally. Small, start small, impact globally, think, challenge, and dare to question, dare to criticize, because blindly accepting a system that offers solutions not to the causes of the problem, but to something that's bringing the problem to an ever growing issue. Well, only blindly accepting it would be like throwing dust in your own eyes. Dare to question, dare to criticize, and adopt a multi sided approach. Thank you very much. I believe that we might have some time for discussion and question, but I'll leave that to you, Leila and Casta and Deepak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Dimitar. It was amazing, if I may say like that. I really very much enjoy how you managed to bring all these important topics in so short period of time and share inspiring words and somehow motivate all of us to rethink. And as you said, it all starts really with a small step. So yes, bring your own bottle, bring your own reusable bag, and do all other things that matter, as you said. So thank you very much for offering this, and I will give floor to the Casta who will be leading Q&A session. And I already saw in the chat that there were some interesting questions posted. So Casta, please.
Thank you, Leila, and thank you, Dimitar, for your presentations. That was really very, very helpful and thought-provoking, whatever you shared in the little bit of time that you had. And well, that has already raised some questions, which I can see in the chat box. And there is also a genuine interest. I could see it in the chat box, people trying to know each other, which is a good thing because we are a network of people and organizations. So people are curious about each other and what they are doing. And this is actually the time now. We have got 25 minutes to do this. So everybody will have a chance to either ask a questions or tell the group what is your takeaway from this presentation if you don't have a questions. And when you do so, please also introduce yourself. How are you part of this network and what do you do? locally, so that others can also connect with you and know you better. I would use the sequence on my screen, and I would name people if you don't mind, so that you know that it's your turn to now say something. Layla has already introduced herself. So, David Spence, could you please tell us about you and your work? And if you have a questions or your takeaway from this presentation today.
Oh, thank you very much. I didn't think I was going to be called upon as the initial questioner. But I wanted to thank Dimitar for a good presentation and understand it's a presentation by a political economist. I am particularly interested in what religions might be able to do to help change the economy. I'm aware that in the Jewish tradition, there was the Jubilee moments where the economy was radically shifted from the rich to the equity of all people. Also, I see in the context of our 21st century issue the dramatic increase of human population that has led to, since the Industrial Revolution particularly, which has led to the demand of greater exploitation and extraction of earth resources. So, how do we deal with this issue of 8 billion people on the earth that really can only support half that many people? And a further comment I would want to make is, what was it now? Is that you spoke of the donut economy as being circular. In my context where I live, there are a number of First Nations people, and they're advocating for an economy that is focused upon reciprocity, the returning to the earth what has been taken from the earth. And so the notion of circularity and reciprocity are very alignable. And fourth, I think in my context, the four elements of the earth, of the world, earth, air, fire, and water, need to be recognized as being sacred and having a religious or spiritual or metaphysical context. And from a Christian perspective, I would want to suggest that we consider adding to the Holy Trinity a sacred quaternity, the sacredness of earth, air, fire, and water. And that attitude can begin to shift our way out of extraction and exploitation into reciprocity and relationship of sustainability. I'll leave it with that and let people comment and see where the conversation goes. Thank you very much.
Would you like to
Well,
quickly respond, Demeter?
yeah, if you would allow me, thank you, Costa, and thank you, David, for such an amazing and so thoughtful comment or comments rather. I will start with the theological approach that you offer for Christianity. Unfortunately, yes, I do come from a Christian background. I consider myself to be agnostic, but I am no theologian. So I would not like to have a comment on that. The idea is lovely, and the approach in which we do have a specific acknowledgement of the elements from a religious perspective might also be nice. I will like to comment on what you said as indigeneity and everything, and I feel like many people here will agree with me. Apart from the donut economic model that we've talked about, the circular approach to the economy, we have so many examples of indigenous economies and practices, of regenerative economics, of circular economics, of beautiful, beautiful, beautiful historical practices in which people indigenous to certain lands have had throughout the years in which they have had no issue whatsoever when it comes to environmental crises. And this calls on, if I may respond as a political economist, as I am, this calls on the larger idea of the anthropological beginning of connection with the earth. What is the purpose of human connection with the earth? The very thing I began with. The very thing I began with being, well, we have to be in a symbiotic relationship with earth because we are part of it and we live on it. It is our home, but we are also part of the natural environment. So I very much agree with you. There are so many practices out there that we can explore and see. And lastly, uh, when we talked about increase of population, I I do not believe the idea that 8 billion people are too many for Earth. I do not believe the idea that we don't have the resources for that many people. I am not a Malthusian. Malthusianism being the idea that at one point the Earth will run out of resources and humanity, half of humanity will have to, excuse me for being cynical, die in order for us to continue living on this very planet. There are so many different ideas of redistribution of already existing wealth, resources, and so on and so forth. We just need to have the right mindset to do that. And I will go back to Costa because I can talk a lot about this. Thank you, David, for those amazing contributions and such amazing questions. I am also available via email. We could continue this communication. But Costa, back to you. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Thank you, Dimitar, for that answer. Well, what we can do is, if you have a questions, if you can just raise your hands up, then we will take your questions first, and depending on how much time left, then we can be a little bit, strict with the time. But I can see two hands raised. Dinesh, would you like to go first, and then Lynn to follow?
I'm not sure if Lynn was before me. I think is what kind of
Doesn't matter. Doesn't
it's
doesn't
okay.
matter. Lynn, would you
Okay.
like to go before Dinesh?
Okay, thank you so much, you guys, for doing this. It's so important. It's just a house in the unlimited multiverse, and it's being destroyed by some really crazy situations, what we're up against. Okay, Africa, by the way, this is for David, has 7.505 billion acres. Okay, that's like an acre apiece just in Africa. I mean, it isn't, I'm just theoretic, like there's not enough room. That's BS. They could have that free vasectomies, free tubal ligations for people that want them for an interim. I mean, no, they're depopulating us. They want us to think this. These evil oligarchs want robots. They want to take over this. They want to chip who's left. They want to destroy. They're killing. I mean, they have hidden weather warfare with chemical, biological warfare. They had 239 chemical. It's related, 239 chemical aerial germ experiments already done in 1977. 1973, these evil oligarchs that came through the Vatican nation, the Vatican, you got to get to the history of the Vatican nation and its takeover with Big Pharma. They started Big Pharma. The ties to Big Pharma, man-made drugs with horrible side effects. Go to Kevin Annett, go to Sean Atwood, Shaun. I put him in the chat. ATTWOOD, interviews with Kevin Annett. He's with the International Criminal Court Justice Systems. He's in Canada. He's Irish. He's got 20 books. He's brilliant. And he knows he was a defrocked priest who, because he started telling the history, the hidden history, like not just of slavery and Africans, but the Indians, what really started to happen and who they started the experiments on, what they did to the Indians worldwide. The Vatican nation has $80 trillion, tons of property, friggin' so much friggin' money and property and art and gold and all of it. Okay. So the Vatican nation has to pay back. The Mormon church is part of this. They're tied to SRAs, satanic ritual abuses. They feed on humans. They drink your blood. I guess some eat us. I don't know about that part, but I do know they do SRAs, the satanic ritual abuses. These freaking over the top oligarchs have got to be gone, and Elon Musk is tied to him, and Epstein was tied to him.
Lynn, I'm sorry. We have got only 16 minutes and there may be others to speak. So if you
Really,
can just,
have
be
to
quick. Please
eliminate
limit
them.
yourself to 1 minute. Yeah.
Okay, and the Epstein, I'll put it in the chat, the other people that have all the
Yes.
access.
Yeah. Please do that. Yeah, that would be helpful. Yeah. Thank you. Dinesh.
Okay, thank you, Custer, and thank you, friends, URI and many others. I know some by name and, and glad to see many by face. Represent the World Council of Churches. I'm responsible for land, water, and food justice at the WCC. Thank you so much to the speaker who really beautifully articulated. I couldn't agree more, therefore no questions, but then I would also like to add, Dimitar, that at the World Council of Churches, we fully agree to the perspective that you bring in. And I think what is common among everyone around the table here, the virtual table, is the faith that kind of binds us here and brings us, and therefore at the World Council of Churches we do promote something called the economy of life versus the current capitalist model of economy. And for this Christian practice of Lent that begins on Ash Wednesday on the 18th, we are starting a campaign during this Lent on something called carbon fasting that also brings in the scrutiny of our lifestyle that is completely dependent on this current model of economy. And more than that, also we have a reflection called Theology of Enough, what you quoted Gandhi from India, basically. So I totally agree, but the theology of enough is also well articulated, and the biblical stories of manna, how people, the Israelites, collected them, and those who kind of accumulated it more than the requirement, that got wasted. And I think the accumulation of wealth is therefore not acceptable in the eyes of God. And that is one thing we also need to promote. And last but not the least, this Pythagoras cup, the greed cup, or whatever you call again, if you take more than that is required, you would lose everything. I think these are some of the key messages that we try to pass on to our constituencies with the faith communities in a language that they do understand. But totally agree with all that you said and look forward to more interactions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you so much. Yeah, Dinesh is also going to lead us in one of the monthly webinars, I think in the month of April. So we look forward to that also, Dinesh. Thank you. I saw, David.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to participate in this European gathering. I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida, and manage a group called the Blue Community Consortium, which is 45 organizations, including local governments, NGOs, businesses, and academia. I also taught at the College of Global Sustainability for 7 years, and I've come to be very concerned about the way sustainable development is used. Sustainable development is really not very promising when you think we're trying to sustain where we are, because where we are is not working. So we need to look at sustainability in a different aspect. And one thing that I've been promoting is to define sustainability in terms of living within the limits of the 9 planetary boundaries. And those, are inclusive of many aspects of sustainable development. And I'm just curious how that fits into this economic theory that we've been hearing about. And also to look at how do we move forward with a new idea of a regeneration of the earth and an awareness of differences of bioregions. Because Gandhi's quote, there's enough for everybody's need, but not greed, doesn't really work in some places. We see island nations going underwater. There's not going to be enough for anybody's need if those island nations go underwater. We see areas like the boundary waters in Canada and Minnesota, which have abundance of water, and we have desert places where water hardly exists. So we need to take in these ecological factors and not try to make it just as simplistic. There's enough for everybody's need. Depends on what the need is and where you're getting that need. So I'll stop there.
No, thank you, David. That is very helpful. Okay. Chris Martin from Birmingham.
Hello.
Hello, Chris. We can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. Yes, I think a very interesting, but quite high-level presentation. The in a way, what I felt was also needs to be brought in is the role that the capitalist system plays, because it's the capitalist system which really drives the exploitation of resources. And but I think my overall reflection is, how do we, we're invited to call to action. And, how do we make the, how do we make the bridge the gap between the sort of the concept, which is easy to understand and difficult to argue with, and what we do, practically at the coal face or whatever. And one of the things which we're trying to do at Footsteps at the moment is we've got students going into places of worship, and we're trying to map their potential as places of climate resilience and adaptation. And we're sort of working on a framework which I think reflects what we've just heard, and that is how can all of the actions that can be taken, for example, insulation and using less energy, how can that all be incorporated into a single frame which is built around the need to live in better harmony with the earth? You're not living in harmony with the earth if your place of worship requires fossil fuels to keep it warm, and you're not living in harmony if your the sort of lives that your congregations are leading are sort of part of the exploitive system. So that's my sort of comment and reflection. But
thank you, Chris. Yeah, very helpful reflections. Okay, friends, we have got only 8 minutes, and I'm really afraid that we may not have actually time for everybody to actually go a little bit long. So without any offense, if you could please limit yourselves to 30 seconds of your just introductions and something that comes to your mind, maybe in a sentence or so, then please do that. We can have another 8 people speaking and then we conclude. Anybody else has a questions, or we can simply just have a round of introductions for those who have not spoken yet.
I think that Dimitar raised a hand, probably would like to reflect on some of the questions that may be raised. So, Kasta, if you don't mind.
Yes, Dimitar. I was just hoping that if there were some more questions, you could take them all together.
Oh, definitely. If that's the case, I would
But
be
there
very
doesn't
happy.
seem to be any questions, so you go ahead.
I'll try to be brief. Thank you, Costa. Thank you, Leila. Thank you, Chris. If I remember, you're also an academic yourself. And thank you, David, for bringing up the ideas that you ask. I'll be very brief, and I'll mention a couple of words that I just wanted to mention. Indigeneity and indigenous practices offer an amazing influence and ideas on what to do in certain places when some things don't work in others. This is what we have to come down to. And indigenous faith practices, indigenous spirituality, and these things will also be very helpful when it comes to trying to adopt solutions to certain problems. Because I am of the opinion that we cannot find an ultimate solution to the problems we're facing nowadays. Another comment that I wanted to make, as you might have heard, I refrain myself from using labels like capitalism, communism, socialism, and so on and so forth, because I believe that these labels, they carry with themselves very olden definitions of systems that we haven't seen in practice. Unfortunately, we might never see, that hold us from finding other ideas using specific, let's say, ideals from such systems. I'm talking about communism because I think Vieco mentioned it in the chat, and I think either David or Chris spoke about exploitative capitalism. That's all correct, but it is sometimes time to go beyond what we have as olden definitions of economic systems and try to work with something new, or rather trying to understand things as they are nowadays, be it communism, capitalism, and so on and so forth. But this was just a comment I wanted to make. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dimitar. Friends, let's quickly just introduce ourselves, and then Lauren has something for us to actually share. So if you can quickly tell us where you are from, just for today, you will have time to actually tell us about your work maybe at the next webinar when you join. Charlotte.
Hello. Well, what a really interesting and inspiring presentation. I think that it was a very good one to kick off the series because it brings together an awful lot of themes that we can probably discuss over the next couple of months. And I really appreciate it. I'm calling in from Oxford, from Hope for Creation, and also the Oxford Three Faith Encounters Forum. So thank you so much. Really.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you so much. Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm from Austria, but my main work is in Syria. I help a teacher to just with money to survive for 700 people, but our future aim is to start to restore the nature that was very heavy destroyed through the war. And so Hassan is planting many trees, and his biggest dream is to have a mobile agricultural education bus to go around and show him new kinds of agriculture, of urban farming, so that new ideas that came up during the last years spread in the area of Aleppo and in Aleppo town itself.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Vieco. We can't hear you. You're muted. Yeah.
We cannot hear you, Vieco. You are on mute. Unmute. Perfect.
I will have to leave soon, but just one idea that I always bear in mind is if we cut one tree, let us plant 10 trees, and we can save the environment and help the planet. The other things I put in my comment. So I have to leave now because I take my grandson to the football training. It was nice to
Okay. Thank you, Vieko. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Okay, bye-bye. Daryl, if you could tell us quickly about yourself and your work. Okay, it doesn't seem to be there. Amir,
Hello, everyone. My name is Amir Ohadi. I'm an executive member of Barnet Multi-Faith Forum in London, and also I'm a chair of Sustainability Committee. We have some social and also environmental initiative locally, and thank you for the discussion.
thank you so much, Amir. Yeah, lovely having you here. Menchu,
Hello, my name is Menchu. I am in the UK, and I am a Laudato Si movement animator, and we promote ecological conversion. Thank you.
thank you so much. Rosa, okay.
Maybe
Daniel,
I don't know. Rosa is our intern at the World Council of Churches and joining from Lima, Peru. Maybe
oh, okay.
internet connectivity issue.
Okay.
And I guess because people need to leave and a lot of us already introduce ourselves in the chat,
In
it's
the
always
chat,
good.
yes.
It's always good to leave probably something for the next time to look forward to
Yeah.
meet some more colleagues and learn about the project. So Casta, if you don't mind, maybe we can just give floor to Lauren us from USA to share a few bits and pieces of information from her end as well.
Thank you,
Over to you, Lauren.
everyone. Dimitar, thank you so much for everything that you've given us to think about today. If I have not yet met you, my name is Lauren, and I serve the URI network as its Earth Restoration Coordinator. And at the end of each of these Healing Earth calls each month, I'm going to do my best to just in a couple of minutes share a tool or a resource that will help all of us as interfaith grassroots groups to think more about what we can be doing in the places where we live. So Dimitar today mentioned donut economics. And if you visit the Donut Economics website, you will see that there are all kinds of examples of different places around the world where they are trying to use the donut model to create a map. And I'm going to show you just quickly here, I'm going to show you California because that's where I am. So California just finished its donut. And will you please look at all of the red on this donut? On the outside of the donut, those are all of the places where we have absolutely gone beyond where we need to go. And inside the whole of the donut, you will also see places where we have exceeded a tipping point, where we're not going in the right direction. And so the point of this exercise is not to make us feel bad, but it is to help everyone who is in an NGO or a faith community or in a government position or in civil service, right? To start to have an understanding of these are our levers. These are the places where we could be regenerating. These are the places where we could start to collaborate in ways that we haven't yet. So if you are not part of a donut conversation where you live and you're curious, do visit that Donut Economics website and just see if there's something that's happening where you live. Related to that, every year URI has a 5-month course that's called Peace Building Through Earth Restoration. And one of the questions that we ask in that course is, how are we making sure that nature is in our conversations? How are we making sure that water has a voice in how our community is making its decisions? So this is something that URI is intentionally trying to offer to our cooperation circles and our individual members. And that Peace Building Through Earth Restoration course will be happening later this year, but you can look for that. And then you may have also seen a message from me recently about the communities of practice that are starting. But that is another way that you might want to participate in learning some more about what is happening around the URI network. There are different communities of practice beginning soon. There are information sessions about the topics that we're starting with, the beekeepers of the world, the water protectors of the world. So if you would like information about these info sessions or these communities of practice, please, please, please send me an email, and I'm putting my email address in the chat. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Lauren, for sharing. Lauren is definitely a person to go when you are having any questions related to the Earth or climate action or anything else. And I would like to share the poll on the screen. I hope you can see it. It will be very important for us to learn about how was your experience today. There are a few questions. It will require you less than 20-30 seconds to fill it out. So please scroll down and submit your responses. We will be very much appreciative to learn how was it. Will you recommend joining? Do you have any comments for us how we can improve this session? So I see some of the responses coming, which is great. We will keep it a few more seconds on the screen so that all of you who are interested can fill it out, and then we will be wrapping up by Casta, and he will be sharing his screen. So, and in the meantime, as Lauren already shared in the chat, feel free to reach out to her. There will be follow-up email. There will be recording of the call. Feel free to share it with colleagues. Join us every month. There are new sessions. If you are interested to propose session yourself, feel free to get in touch. We are open, and together we can share so much information and knowledge. So it will be very valuable for us to learn from all of you. So please feel free to nominate the topic and to be one of the speakers that Dimitar was today. We also want once again to extend our huge thanks to Dimitar for amazing presentation, which I hope will be also available for you. I think Dimitar will be sharing it with you, so that you can take a look. And of course, feel free to stay in contact with Dimitar. I saw there was a lot of questions, a lot of comments, so why not stay in contact and exchange some more ideas. I hope that all of you who were interested were able to full out the pool. Sorry, it's really the end of the day for me, so I'm without words that it is later than 8 p.m. my time. So I will be stopping it. There will be more opportunities for you to fill it out on some other occasion, and I will give floor back to the Casta who would like to share 1 minute on the screen as a closing part. Thank you very much. So Casta, please.
Thank you so much, friends. We have been talking, and there were some questions about the theology and the faiths, all this and that. So it would be good to actually close this webinar, what we say, with a spiritual closing, and we can do that. This could be our closing statement also, in a spiritual closing, and share my screen, and probably all of us can say this prayer. I will lead. You can just pray along with me with your mic muted. Creator and source of all being, known by many names, yet one in essence. We come before you in humble awe of this beautiful, fragile, interconnected world. Mountains breathing mist, rivers singing life, forests storing memory, oceans cradling breath, and every creature, human and more than human, woven into your single web of existence. Forgive us where we have forgotten our sacred trust. We have too often treated Earth as mere resource, measuring her worth only by extraction and profit. We have built economies that devour forests, poison waters, heat the atmosphere, and widen the chasm between rich and poor. Turn our hearts towards true stewardship. Help us remember that the land is not ours to own, but to tend. That harming the poor through unjust systems wounds you. That endless consumption wounds the same creation you called good. Grant wisdom to leaders of nations, corporations, and communities. May they choose regeneration over exhaustion, fair wages over exploitation, circularity over waste, sufficiency over greed. Inspire each of us to live more lightly, to consume with mindfulness, to share with generosity, to repair what has been broken, to plant what will outlive us. May the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor become one voice in our hearts, calling us to conversion, ecological, economic, spiritual. Bless the hands that heal soil, restore rivers, protect biodiversity, build renewable energy, redesign just trade, forgive unpayable debts, and create economies that serve life rather than destroy it. Guide humanity toward an integral ecology where no one lacks bread, clean water, shelter, or dignity, and where every ecosystem can breathe, heal, and flourish. With gratitude for this shared home, with hope kindled by your enduring compassion, and in solidarity across every faith and culture, we offer this prayer, not only in words, but in changed lives and courageous choices. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Casta. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I put it in the chat. We are looking forward to see you on the next time here. Thank you, Dimitar, for presentation. And yeah, wish you all the best for the rest of the day and evening. Take good care.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye. I'm all hot. It's all these meetings, but it's been incredibly important to communicate, network. Thank you. I hope you'll read the chat. Please save the chat. The little three